With AI building websites, writing copy, and running entire marketing campaigns now, well, a lot of people are feeling a little nervous. But what if I told you that the rise of AI is actually your single biggest opportunity? Okay, let's dive into this, because today we're opening up the Persuasion playbook. These are the powerful, uniquely human strategies that AI can execute but could never, ever create.
So let's just ask the big question on everyone's mind. Is your job safe from AI? I mean, it's a totally valid concern, right? We're watching AI do tasks that, just a year ago, felt like they were exclusively for humans. And yeah, that can be terrifying. But the answer? It's a little more nuanced than a simple yes or no.
And this really gets to the heart of it. AI is a phenomenal executor. Think of it this way. It can build the car, but it can't tell you where to drive it. It can write an email, sure, but it can't diagnose the deep-seated problem your customer is actually facing. That takes strategy, empathy, and the art of persuasion. And that, my friends, is where you have the permanent high ground.
So in this explainer, we're going to break down 4 key sections of this persuasion playbook. Think of this as your guide to mastering the strategic side of the equation, the part that will always give you an edge. First up, the opening gambit. Because look, the first 30 seconds of any interaction, they're everything. This is where you establish control, you disarm skepticism, and you create a foundation of trust that makes everything else that follows even possible. Let's start with a principle called social compliance. Russell Brunson tells this amazing story about speaking to 9,000 people. I mean, how do you connect with a room that big? You don't start with some huge ask. You start small. His first move was just, everybody pull out your phone. And within seconds, he had 9,000 people mirroring his action. It's a tiny yes that creates a micro-commitment. From there, you can build to bigger and bigger commitments because you've already established a pattern of agreement.
Now, check this out. It's a totally different but just as powerful approach. This is what Myron Golden calls his all my cards on the table close. Instead of building up slowly, he hits you with radical transparency right from the jump. He tells you he has something to sell. He even tells you the absolutely ridiculous price. So what does this do? It completely eliminates that voice in the audience's head wondering, what's the catch? And it allows them to focus solely on the value of what he's teaching. It's just a masterclass in building instant trust. This whole idea of building agreement leads us perfectly into our next section, building the yes cascade. See, once you set the stage, the goal is to create this unbroken chain of agreement, a kind of momentum that makes the final yes feel like the most natural thing in the world. One of the most subtle ways to do this comes from a hypnotist named Darren Stevens. He uses what he calls truisms and universals. A truism is just something that is undeniably true in that moment. Like saying, "Isn't it fantastic being here in Dallas?" Your subconscious mind just goes, yep, that's true. By stacking these simple, irrefutable statements, you get the whole audience nodding along, creating this pattern of unconscious agreement right from the very beginning.
Another really powerful way to build this agreement is using something called the trial close. It's basically a series of small, low-stakes questions designed to get your audience nodding along, creating what Russell Brunson calls yes momentum. It can be as simple as asking,
"Pretty cool, right?" Right after you show them a new feature. You're just layering these tiny little agreements, one on top of the other, constantly checking in and keeping your audience right there with you. You can ask things like,
"Can you see yourself doing this?" Now, this seems small, right? But Brunson was told he needed heads nodding for his entire 90-minute presentation. So he tested this. He added about 100 of these trial closes to a webinar, and the result was just staggering. His earnings per registrant jumped from $9.50 to $16.40. That is the power of momentum.
Okay, let's pivot to the part of the playbook that trips up so many people, price. This section is all about dismantling that price resistance before it even has a chance to start by shifting the entire conversation away from cost and completely toward value and importance.
This reframe from Myron Golden is an absolute game changer. He teaches that when someone says, "I can't afford it," what they're really saying is, "This isn't important enough for me to figure it out." Just think about it. People figure out how to buy houses and cars all the time. Your job isn't to argue about their bank account. Your job is to make your offer so important that they feel compelled to find a way. You have to elevate the value.
So how do you explain that value, especially when it's complex? Well, you use what Russell Brunson calls the kinda like bridge. When he was selling a health product with these complex terms like ketones, he didn't give a boring science lecture. He just said, ketones are kind of like having a million motivational speakers running through your body making you feel amazing.
And instantly, the complex becomes simple and the value is totally understood. It just bridges that gap between your jargon and their understanding.
And this illustration from Myron Golden, it forces a complete mental shift. He asks, if you could only pick one of these deals, which one would you choose? And of course, everyone picks the last one. Why? Because as he says, poor people ask how much does it cost, while wealthy people ask how much is it worth. This simple table reframes your offer not as an expense, but as an investment with a massive return. It totally changes the psychology of the purchase.
And this brings us full circle, right back to where we started. Let's tie all these human-centric techniques together and show you exactly why a strategist will always beat a simple executor, especially in this age of AI.
So here's how it all comes together. Let AI be your tireless executor. Let it build the website, write the first draft of the copy, run all the tasks. But your job, your irreplaceable value, is as the strategist. For example, Don Miller tells a story about a kid's gym. Now, AI could build a great website for them, no problem. But a human strategist realized the true villain in the parent's story wasn't competing gyms, it was screen time. By repositioning the gym as the antidote to screens, they doubled their business. And AI can't make that leap. That is a human insight, that is strategy.
So there you have it. That's the Persuasion playbook in a nutshell. You win trust early with a powerful opening gambit. You build momentum with a cascade of yeses. You reframe the entire conversation around value, not price. And you always remember your ultimate advantage is being the human strategist who can see the bigger picture. And that leaves us with one final thought. You've seen the plays, you understand the strategy, so now the question is, which one are you going to put into action first? What's the one technique from this entire playbook that you are going to use tomorrow to get your next yes?